Alright, before we start, I need to say this. Talking about skinwalkers is dangerous. Some believe that even saying the name draws their attention. So if you're hearing this, and something feels wrong later, you've been warned. Let's begin. The American Southwest is some of the most beautiful land in the country. Vast deserts, red cliffs, open skies. But underneath all that beauty is something ancient. And angry skinwalkers. In Navajo tradition, they're called Yi na Lushi, which translates to, with it, he goes on all fours. But that name doesn't capture the fear. Because these aren't just stories. People have seen things, heard things, lost things. Tonight, we're diving into the stories you're not supposed to tell. The ones that make people go missing. And the ones where they come back wrong. To understand skinwalkers, you need to understand where they come from. The Navajo don't treat these stories like folklore. They're part of their living history. And out of respect, many won't even speak the word. Take on the body of an animal, usually a coyote, wolf, or owl. Because skinwalkers, according to tradition, were once human. Witches, people who chose power over humanity. Through rituals, they gave up their souls to become something else. Something that could change shape. But they don't just mimic. They hunt. And worst of all, they can imitate human voices. One night, their teenage son stepped outside to check on the goats. He heard his mother calling him from the tree line. There are hundreds of stories. Here's one from Arizona, 1983. They were familiar with the terrain, experienced campers. But that night, they heard something walking outside their tent. Not an animal too heavy. It walked like a man. A family was living near the edge of the Navajo Nation. The problem was his mother was inside the house. He turned and ran. Whatever was out there followed him. On all fours. Fast, but completely silent. When he got inside, the windows began to rattle. The lights flickered. And something scraped across the roof. They called tribal police. When they arrived, they found enormous prints in the dirt, half human, half canine, and tufts of fur, made of something like straw. That family moved out within the week. In 1995, two siblings were hiking near Monument Valley. The sister peeked through the flap and saw what looked like their father standing outside. But their father had died 3 years earlier. She screamed. The thing ran on all fours and vanished into the desert. They found deep claw marks on the tent, and their father's name whispered across the sand. In 2002, a team of paranormal researchers visited a region near Dulce, New Mexico. After a series of animal mutilations, locals were terrified. Livestock had been torn apart, organs removed with surgical precision. No blood, no signs of struggle. Then one night, while camping near a canyon, one of the researchers heard his own voice calling from the woods. He was recording audio at the time. You can hear him say, "Is someone out there?" Then his exact voice responds, "I need help." He ran, left everything behind. 2 days later, another team found the recorder, still running. The tent was shredded, no other signs of life. People vanished while hiking, camping, or simply driving through remote stretches of desert. Their truck was found abandoned on a dirt trail, doors wide open, engines still warm. Inside was a single phrase written on the fogged windshield, "He wore my face." Disappearance reports near skinwalker-prone areas are higher than normal. In 2011, 3 campers went missing near the Chuska Mountains. They were never found. Search and rescue teams reported hearing voices calling for help in the night, only to find nothing, not even tracks. One officer later resigned, citing unexplainable activity and recurring nightmares. So what are these things? Some believe they're spiritual cursed beings tied to ancient dark magic. Others think there's something else going on. Something even the government doesn't want you knowing about. Because there's one place where Skinwalker stories, UFOs, and classified surveillance all come together. Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch is a property in Utah, notorious for decades of strange phenomena: UFO sightings, animal mutilations, invisible entities, portals in the sky, beasts that vanished without leaving tracks. And yes, Skinwalkers. The Sherman family owned the ranch in the 90s. They reported seeing giant wolves that wouldn't die when shot. Their cattle were torn apart, no blood. The family fled. Then the government moved in. It would appear in his peripheral vision, always at the edge of the trees. He heard his name whispered from the air around him. The property was bought by billionaire Robert Bigelow, who worked with the Department of Defense to run a secret research project on the land. But a large handprint burned itself into the metal. To this day, we don't know what they found. But here's what we do know: never returned. Every team that spends time on the ranch leaves early, and some of them don't talk anymore. A contractor working security on the ranch in 2009 reported being followed by a shadow figure. One night, something clawed at his trailer door. When he opened it, nothing was there. He left the job the next day. One of the scariest stories I've ever heard came from a hiker in northern Arizona. He was solo camping in the desert, miles from any town. He had a small campfire and was preparing for bed when he heard something crunching in the brush. He called out, thinking it was an animal. Then he heard his own voice respond, "Who's there?" He froze. He said the air got cold, the fire flickered low, and the thing stepped into the firelight. It looked like him. Same clothes, same face, but its eyes were black, and its smile didn't move. He grabbed his bag and ran. When he came back with rangers the next day, his campsite was untouched, except for a single handprint, burned into the log where he'd been sitting. Another case from 2017 involved a man driving late at night through a remote stretch near Gallup, New Mexico. He saw someone standing in the road, a woman, pale, long black hair, no shoes. He stopped to help, but when she turned around, her face was his. Perfectly. Same stubble, same eyes. He floored it. Never stopped until he hit a gas station 2 hours away. Surveillance footage showed his car pull in, but he wasn't alone. For a split second, someone was in the passenger seat, then gone. How do you protect yourself from something like this? Some say never respond if you hear your name in the dark. Never whistle at night. Never wander alone in Navajo land. And never speak of skinwalkers out loud. Too late for that, I guess. People go missing out there. It's easy to blame dehydration, predators, the elements, but the patterns are always the same. Voices where there shouldn't be voices. Tracks that lead nowhere. People who come back wrong. So if you ever find yourself alone in the desert and you hear someone calling your name from the trees, don't answer. Because once it knows you heard it, it won't stop until it finds you. Like, subscribe, and comment to stay aware of all things supernatural.